Today's episode goes all over the place and in such a wonderful way. Allow me to introduce you to my good friend, Tarlise. Now, you may be familiar with her as she was a guest on the podcast all the way back a couple years ago to episode 164. Well, she's back and she's sharing all the tips and tricks for getting your mind, body, and bank account in check. Tarlise is a holistic stress management coach that helps stressed out professionals find more fun and profits in their business. As the founder of Body, Brains, Bank Account, her genius lies in the ability to teach and inspire others to get rid of stress and in 7 days or less. Today, we're talking all about crypto, NFTs, the difference between Metaverse and blockchain, our gratitude practices, 75 hard, network marketing, stress management, and so much more. I cannot wait for you guys to hear today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by Your Podcast Production. Have you been wanting to launch your own podcast but not sure where to begin? Is time the only thing holding you back? Maybe you're already recording but need somebody to guide you through the production process. Do you have a message that needs to be heard? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then I have just the program for you. Your Podcast Production designs, coaches, produces, and aligns you and your brand to have a successful, enjoyable, and profitable podcast. After launching my own show, I had so many women reach out to me and ask me how I did it. So what did I do? I created something I wish existed. There are many ways to create and launch a podcast, and you want to make sure you do it right from the very beginning. I believe that keeping it simple, organized, and original is the most effective and efficient way to go. Are you ready to start the process? Are you ready to learn more? Visit yourpodcastproduction.com today. Welcome to Kellyanne Cares, a one-of-a-kind show created to motivate, stimulate, educate, and inspire you, personally and professionally. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm an entrepreneur, patient advocate, content creator, and author. You may know me from the Everything is Messy book, brand, and podcast. But what you may not know is how hard I had to work to get me to where I am today. Mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And in this season, I'm more driven and extremely passionate about my purpose. To help you save the time, money, and energy it takes to be happier and get healthier with your mind, body, business, and life. Tune in every week to hear raw, unfiltered conversations from myself and my incredible guests as we discuss trending topics, share stories of resilience, and chat about all things health, wealth, healing, and wellness. Whether you're here to listen, learn, or laugh, I promise to bring awareness and add more value to your day. Take this time to relax and recharge. Listen, life is short. Invest in yourself. Be loud, be different, be you, and most importantly, enjoy the ride. Buckle up because today's podcast experience starts now. One more thing, sharing is caring. I would love your thoughts on today's episode. Head on over to Apple Podcasts to rate, review, and subscribe. I would truly appreciate it. Want to continue the conversation? Let's connect online. You can find me at kellyanngorman.com and all my social links are in the show notes. Now let's get into today's show. Welcome back to the show, Tarlise. I'm so excited to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Okay, so just to give you guys a heads up, before I was getting ready for this interview, I listened to episode 164 of this very podcast, and we are now in the 300s. So that episode, I also interviewed Tarlise. That was in 2019, which is insane because I cannot even believe we survived a pandemic 3 years later. And on that very episode, I even mentioned that we were supposed to do it in 2018. So I think that we've been friends online since 2016, 17. It's been years. I know that.
I believe so. Yes, it's been a while. And it's so funny because we were just laughing before we hit record that we both came to this interview with a notepad full of things that we could talk about because we talk about so many things. And so I was like, yes, I can't believe it's been so many years since we've done this, but it's going to be a fun conversation. I know that.
Yes, for sure. And we are both Geminis. We always talk about how we have so many different projects and how it's so important to keep your creativity going and being multi-passionate. And listening back to that episode, that's something that we spoke about, is that a lot of people think that, just growing up and then moving into the online business space, people think that you only can do one thing. And you and I have been successful in many things and at the same time. And we've also had very stressful things happen to us. So I want to get into a lot of different topics. But first, I want to ask you, right now with the stress management, what are you focusing on and why is that what you're focusing on now? Did it have something to do with the pandemic, or is this something that you're super passionate about right now to help others?
Yeah, good question. So I started coaching about 8 years ago, and I started working with people in the network marketing space or home-based business space, if you will. And then that turned into working with entrepreneurs. And over that time, I worked with people literally across the world, across 20 plus time zones. And they were all, there was a dentist and an attorney and a stay-at-home mom. And I thought that I was teaching them about social media and marketing and like business. But one thing that was consistent across the board, regardless of where they lived or what their profession was they were feeling stressed out. They were stressed because of their children or stressed because of work, or they couldn't focus on business because they didn't have time. And so it all came back to like, hey, let's all take a deep breath here and kind of survey the scene and figure out what's going on. And how can we, because my brand is called Body Brains Bank Account, because I believe, like you believe, in a holistic approach of like, if one part of your, the pie is off, it's going to shift everything else. So like, if you're not good and you're stressed out mentally, it's going to affect your body. It's going to affect your bank account. And so I noticed just client after client would come to me and be like, oh, I couldn't go through the modules, I'm so stressed. Or, oh, sorry, I couldn't make the live, I had this going on. And I was like, what if it didn't have to be that way? Like, what if we could figure out a way to where this is actually fun to show up for? And then that just kind of became the focus. When I first started, though, there wasn't a pandemic. There wasn't any of this stuff happening. Like, everything was hunky-dory. And so now I feel like it's even more needed of like, hey, these are unprecedented times right now, but it doesn't mean that it has to be stressful for you. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And something else that you and I have gone through is moments in our lives where we've had to completely start over. So because you've gone through something like that and literally had to start from ground zero all over again, was that able to help you? I know for me, it was insane how like my story allowed me to help more people from the pandemic. But did you see that like beneficial in your favor? Like, wow, like I really know how this feels. Like, let me help you.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons that I think my community engages with me, or I hate the word like they follow me, but the reason that people follows me, because from the beginning, 12 years ago, when I first got online, I wasn't afraid to show that negative, quote unquote, part of my life, or the struggles. Or like, I remember when I first got started, I just hit a rough part of my life. And I was like, hey, I'm building a new business and I don't have a car right now, so I'm riding a bicycle. And people thought I was joking. I was like, no, you guys, really, I'm riding a bicycle right now too. And so it was just from the very beginning, I talked about the adversity. I talked about what was not working, but I kept a positive mindset about it. And people always like that, because I never felt the need to keep it cookie cutter and all, polished branding and everything. And I think you're the same. Like, you've shared a lot of personal stuff, and that's why people love you and relate to you, because you're not just some person with every single picture perfect and you run a narrative. It's like, I am who I am, and it's really good sometimes, but sometimes it's not.
Exactly. And thank you for that. I really appreciate that compliment. And I think that's why you and I, again, like, we have so much in common, but we react to the same and we put ourselves out there. Like, I love a good lash filter on Instagram, but I'm always saying, like, I'm back to Sasha Sparkle lash filter because I don't feel like putting my lashes on. Like, I fucking say it. Like, nothing about me is fake. And if you listen to the show, you follow me online, my verbiage, like, you can just read through that. And there are so many people online that are just so fake. Like, if you and I, can I just say, this is the one thing I'm so bummed about, is that you and I never met up in real life. We literally lived like 30 minutes, not even away. I'm like, we have to make this fucking happen in 2022.
Isn't that crazy though? Like, I was thinking about it earlier, just how my personality, I love, like, we love doing things online, but I love meeting people face to face. I love, like, looking someone in the eyes and talking to them. And so it's so funny because we have been friends like almost 7 years now going on. And I was like, when we were getting on this, I was like, are we going to Vegas? Where are we meeting? Like, we got to just do this already,
I know. And what were we saying last time? Oh, on the last episode that you were on, 164, we were talking about nomadic life, and you were traveling, and then I was like, oh, if you ever want any tips for how to pack stuff up and like storage unit life. And I'm like, wow, times have changed. We've gone through a pandemic. We've completely changed our businesses. But at the same time, to bring it home, like we are still fucking real. And I know that's why you and I connected like right off the bat. I don't even know how we connected online. Probably a Facebook group many moons ago.
So.
But you could just read through people. And once you start using your voice, that's something else that we were talking about, is how we love like voice messaging people. I cannot stand, like, LinkedIn is my favorite platform, but the amount of spam because of all these sales navigator tools that come into my inbox, like literally 100 messages a day, people don't even do their research. They're just like spamming you left and right. I'm like, that's not how you do business. You want to create and build like and have like an actual real relationship. So I go, because it's in my benefit, to voice message them back and say, thank you so much for your message. Like, I really appreciate it. But my focus is, you know, podcast development or recording my audiobook or whatever the hell I'm working on and want to share. But then I get boosted in the algorithm. So that helps me, but also lets them know, like, I'm human. Like, I don't agree with like these robotic messages. Like, if you actually do care about me, it would have taken like 2 seconds to look at my profile to see like literally an image of a book. So why are you pitching me like write a book? As you may or may not know, I am somebody that is obsessed with all things organization and productivity. And if it's going to save me time, money, and energy, I'm here for it. Head on over to kellyannegorman.com, click on the page Brand Deals. The link will be in the show notes, and check out all of my favorite brands. I'm talking coffee. I'm talking credit building. I'm talking saving money by scanning your receipts. All things podcasting, business, organization, delivery services, travel. I have a whole list for you. They're going to save you time, money, and energy. That is something I'm so passionate about. So I wanted to share that with you as well. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my weekly newsletter on kellyandgorman.com or over on my LinkedIn. Now let's get back into today's show. It's like common sense. Like, do research.
It is interesting. You know, I hate to like always show my age, but you know, I'm about to be 44. And so I've seen the evolution of social media. Like, you know, when I first got online, it's like all this messenger and all that, it wasn't the same. And so, you know, we had a flip phone, which you had to connect to your computer and download and do all this stuff. And so it's just so interesting now because I love Messenger. Like, I am down to make some sales in Messenger, let me tell you. But it's very interesting to see how lazy we've become. And I think that the reason that you and I do well is because, like I said, we really do like having a conversation with someone and getting to know them. And I think that's why we both have so many referrals or, you know, a happy community, is because we're not just like, how many people can I message in the next hour? It's like, how many people can I impact and actually have a conversation with? Don't you feel like that? I mean,
well, you care. That's the difference. You care.
Right.
Like, you actually want to engage with people. And that's like, your Facebook is insane. Like, the amount of engagement you get on posts, and then you're repurposing stuff. That's, I think, your biggest platform, right? Facebook or no?
So it's very interesting. I think I'm the most active on my Facebook profile for sure, but I've realized like I don't even use Instagram the way I should be using it anymore. I mean, I have courses on Instagram, for Pete's sake, like, but lately I have been in my direct messages of Instagram 100 times more than I'm posting on my wall. And so I'd say, as far as like community and interaction, it's still on Facebook. But like, as far as talking to people, I like Messenger. Like, I like,
me too,
just like you said, leaving voice notes and just getting to know people. And, you know, I'm working on some amazing things right now and just really cool projects. And it's just because of what you said, like taking the time to actually care and like shout people out and make connections that I am not going to benefit from or don't make any money off of. Just like, hey, Joe, I think you and Susan would like each other, you know? And I don't know. It's interesting to see the evolvement, but I'm like, it's funny when you go back to basics and just be a cool person, how far that can get you.
And you know what? I did respond to one of those. I think it was yesterday or the day before. You shared somebody's crypto Facebook group.
Oh, I love that group. Yes.
I joined because of you. NFTs and crypto is like my next... Like, I wish I could just clone myself and, like, one of me learn all of that, because I'm so intrigued by it. And I think because it's so popular, but also because I know nothing about it. And when that happens, I'm like, ooh, I want to know it all. And I'm like, how can I learn all of this, like, quickly? So I have a couple people I follow on TikTok, And your vibe on Instagram, that's my vibe on TikTok. And the only thing they're missing right now is voice messaging, because I do so much business in my messenger on TikTok when I don't even post, because shit just gets repurposed. Like, they just push out old videos that you don't even know what's happening, and then all of a sudden you have all these new followers.
You're like, where'd these million people come from?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And it's crazy because as far as my book, I've had so many small boutique owners, like tanning salons, clothing stores in North Carolina, in Iowa, like states all over this country that I have never done business in, message me. They're finding me from a comment that I've left on somebody else's post most of the time, which is why you need to engage. And then they slide into my my DMs, and they want my book for their store. So I sign books and I send them to Iowa. I send them to North Carolina. I send them to states. That would never happen if I didn't engage, because I'd just be sitting there with a profile. So that just goes to show you, like, you never know. You know, you're so good with building relationships. Like, hey, Joe, like, I want to connect you guys. But what happens in 6 months where the world shuts down and now you guys need each other? Now you're, like, building a business together. You just never know in the online space. So that's why using this tactic, like, known as being yourself, is literally the best way that you can
It's the
act.
state of the art.
Like, just fucking be yourself.
State of the art new tactic, right?
Oh my God. Okay, so I know you're working on a couple things now, but what is your focus? So, like, I have a lot of things on my plate. My focus is podcast development. You do Body Brains Bank Account. You do stress management. Are you in network marketing now or no?
So I do have a position in a network marketing company. You know, I love network marketing, and I've done it for 13 years now across different companies, and I have gotten crap for it every single year. Every company I'm with, people don't care. I've made upwards, I made almost $90,000 in a month. My ex-husband made a couple $100,000 a month. People did not care. Like, we're literally like, no, look at this. Like, we're really doing well. And people just did not care. So it's funny because I will always be an advocate for network marketing. I love it. I don't care who doesn't like it. Like, 100% I'm in. But, you know, it's interesting because lately I've been doing the stress management coaching, and you and we both just always love to talk about social media and content creation and all of that. But, you know, lately I had been getting more into the crypto and getting more into the NFT scene and helping people launch coins and doing that kind of, and it's new to me, but it's not. I think we first started talking about it, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but it wasn't adopted yet. And people were like, okay, have fun with that. And now that it's like real, I'm going, okay, remember that stuff I was talking about a couple of years ago? It's real now. Let's do it, you know? And so I'm just really excited to be a part of that. You know, I have the knowledge, but it's different to learn about something and visualize it and actually implement it and do it. And so now I'm able to kind of mesh my learning with the real life, and it's all brand new to everyone. So it's fun.
And it's so crazy that people are designing, children are designing art that's going up into these, you call them clouds, or you call them, what is this, the digital space? There's like a word for it.
Metaverse?
Yeah, Metaverse. So,
oh, yes.
The children are designing them, and then they're getting uploaded by a graphic design artist, and then people are buying it. Like, that's college tuition. Like, get on it, parents. That's what I feel would be like a smart route. But I, again, know nothing about it, and I'm excited to learn this year. Like, I really want to learn more, which is why I joined that group. But I follow a lot of NFT, very intriguing NFT characters on LinkedIn, and they've all recently launched some podcasts, and then of course on TikTok end up on the NFT talk.
Well, I love, what I love about all this is it's moving more towards the creator culture, and it's like these little micro commitments. So like a lot of these NFTs and all this stuff with, that's happening with crypto, you don't need all these other third party or fourth party people involved. You can just have a transaction just directly with a person and kind of, have these little micro commitments. So you don't have to overcommit to signing a huge contract and being locked down for a year. And so it's just fun to kind of see the real life and this fantasy world kind of come together. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so cool, because the possibilities really are endless, and it's up to you and your creative mind what you do with it, because everyone's going to have their own interpretation of it. And so it's kind of anything goes, right?
Yeah, and I just saw Paris Hilton collabed with a brand or an artist on something, and it was insane. And I'm like,
I saw that inside of a picture frame.
Yeah, and I was like, this just goes to show you like what a creative mind can do, like the power behind it, but also passive income kind of, right? Like you're creating something once, like a musician, an artist, or a graphic design artist, like anybody with a creative mind can literally create something, upload, and there's a transaction, which is amazing.
Yeah. You know, the other day I saw that a coach had created a quote unquote golden ticket, and it's essentially lifetime access to her coaching. And she auctioned it as an NFT, and highest bidder won it. And so it was an NFT on the blockchain recorded, you know, cutting edge new thing. But I thought, how cool is that? How else could coaches or authors or speakers use these new things that are not only trending but fun, and monetize them and use them to build your brand?
I love that. Now, what is the difference between blockchain and the metaverse?
So the metaverse is, did you see the announcement that it's like, I don't know, I always think like, explain this like a fifth grader so that people get it. So the metaverse is the virtual reality world, if you will, that people are putting their apartments into and building casinos in and making, you know, book clubs in. And so it's this universe or this world that you go into and interact. You can create your avatar. You can decide who has access. Like imagine Sims.
Yeah.
You know, like the old school Sims.
That's what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Correct. The blockchain is what it's a, you know how like when within a bank you get like a transaction record. Well, what a blockchain is you don't need those other people. It's something that you can't change, you can't reverse, you can't delete, you can't make any edits once it's done. And it's pretty much public knowledge that Kelly did this with Tarlise, and this is what's exchanged, and you can never change it, you can never take it off, it can never be deleted, etc. And so now you're having these contracts. So for instance, this lady can't go, well, we talked and I'm not going to do the golden ticket coaching because I decided not to. You're like, no, it's on the blockchain, everyone can see it, this is a record that shows what we've done. And so it makes peer-to-peer transactions not only transparent but easier, because you don't need all these other parties that include their transaction fees and their processing fees, and just like you cut out the middleman.
Okay, so that makes a lot more sense. Like I, in my mind, am thinking of like looking on Venmo where it shows like who's doing what, because I saw something the other day, I don't know if it was CNBC or something, and they were saying like in 5 more years, like you want to show what you're worth and you want to buy a Ferrari, you literally just show them that, because it will show transactions and money. It's like digital banking kind of.
Which is, let's be honest, really cool and kind of scary at the same time.
I know.
It's like that movie like Ready Player One, where you're like, where does it blur between the virtual reality and, you know, the real life? But it's so exciting, and there's so many opportunities. And I think there are going to be a few more years with, you know, adoption, just like there has been with crypto and stuff like that. Cannabis, same thing. It was like a lot of people thought it was cool in the beginning, and some people still don't think it's cool. And it's like, either you get it or you don't. Same thing with like gaming. Some people love gaming and get it, and other people are like, this is a waste of time, you know? And
some are making millions. Like my friend's son, he watches YouTube videos over and over and over again of gamers playing. And he's like, I'm like, you need to start your own channel. I know you're only in kindergarten, but it's time. Because he's giving them so much money watching them over and over again. And he doesn't even play the game yet. He's just watching the gamers. And I'm like, oh my God. But, okay, something I want to pivot into is something that I've seen you do so many times, and I kind of have FOMO, but it's like the one thing that would really test me, and that is 75 hard. You have done it so many times, so I want you to speak about this, because if some people may not be familiar with it, but you've done it quite a few times. So let's chat about that.
So 75 Hard is a program that was launched by a guy named Andy Frisella. Now, I've been following Andy Frisella since, I think, 2015. So I was following him when he had a podcast and before the 75 Hard even launched. I just thought he was a cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had gone through some crazy health issues where like everything shut down at once. Like I was having kidney problems and gallbladder problems. Like I just went through horrible reaction with my skin and I had blisters and it was just like I looked like a monster. It was so horrible and I was in the hospital and all of this stuff was happening and I was just like over it. You know, I was like, if I really believe what I believe and I believe that my mindset creates what's coming, you know, what my body's doing, I got to change my mindset. Like I got to like focus on something. And so a friend of mine had mentioned that they were doing, you know, the 75 Hard thing. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Where can I learn about it? And what it is for 75 days, you drink a gallon of water every day. You do 2 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outside. No alcohol. You follow a meal plan and you like don't deviate from that meal plan, not even one bite or you fail. And then you have to read 10 pages, a book per day. And if you don't do one of those, so say you're behind on your ounces or you only read 9 pages instead of 10, you have to go back to day 1. So it doesn't matter if you're on day 74, if you mess up anything, you go back to day 1. And so I had just gotten out of the hospital. I was just feeling horrible. And I was like, okay, take control of this, like get it done. So literally I had gotten out of urgent care one day and I was like, okay, I'm starting today. I'm going to drink my gallon of water. I'm going to go on a workout. I literally had like all my fingers wrapped still from like feeling so horrible. And I was like, I'm going to do it. And so I did it and I failed. I did it. I failed. I did it. I mean, in total, I think there was like 300 out of the 365 days that I was doing 75 Hard and like in and out of the hospital and all this stuff. But the reason that I did it was to change my mindset. And a lot of people think that it's like a fitness challenge.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, that's so wrong. I've seen so many people on TikTok saying, all these fitness and health coaches saying that that's the worst thing you could do. I'm like, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your mind and the power of your brain. Like getting on track.
Here's why, I know. And here's why it does is because there are so many times that I could have cheated and said, yep, I read 10 pages, or that I could have poured my water out, or that I could have like stopped at my workout and no one would have known. And that's the most difficult part is people are so used to lying to themselves that they don't even think anything about it. They're like, oh, that didn't happen. I'll just start on Monday, you know? And so if you can really show up for yourself for 75 days and do everything. And like the second phase is you have to do 30 days and have a 5-minute cold shower, like on the coldest water every single day. And like, this is just stuff that I was like, ugh, why am I doing this? Like, no one's even going to know this is stupid. But it was those mind monkeys and those stories of like, but why don't you just complete it? You started it. Stop bullshitting yourself and just do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, and so for me, the part, like, it taught me so much. Like my husband left me literally in the middle of one of like, we got a divorce, everything. And I was like, okay, well, drinking my gallon of water and doing my workout. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't have a choice. If you really want to do it, there are no exceptions. It doesn't matter what happens. You have to do it. And that taught me so much because I kind of use it lately explaining other things. I go, oh, I just got a 75 hard this, just got a 75 hard my way through this, because it really has taught me like the only person that I'm cheating by not doing what I said I was going to do is me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, no one else cares. And when you can push past that and when you can show up regardless, oh my gosh, it's helped me in business. It's helped me in communicating. It's helped me with being mindful of when I'm eating, like so much, so much.
And I feel like if you cheat on yourself, like you're just going to continuously go down that path and then it's not going to work out for you. Oh my God, guess what? I literally set an alarm. It's 12:34. 12:34 is very important to you. And I almost just said last year, 3 years ago, episode 164 that you were on, we were recording at 12:34 also.
I freaking love it. So for those of you that have never heard the two of us talk, every single day at 12:34, I've been doing this. I think we're at 15 years now.
Yeah,
it's either
forever.
13 or 15. But for 15 years, every single day, I have an alarm that goes off on my phone. It used to go off on like a traditional alarm clock, but it says, what are you grateful for? And so every single day it pops up and I go, what are you grateful for? Like if other people are around me, or I just stop and take a moment. And now I have it like tattooed on my arm. Hundreds of people around the world tag me, telling me like, oh my gosh, this has changed my life. And I was on a podcast interview the other day and I said, he's like, what do you want to be known for? And I was like, if people could remember me for one thing, I would love if it was that I reminded them to take a moment to just be grateful every day. Like, how cool is that? Like, take the money out of it. Take all the, like, rah-rah of what you've done. Like, just reminding people no matter what's happened. And you and I have both been through some stuff, girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, just being like, I'm so grateful. And just taking a moment when that alarm goes off and just, like, forgetting the negative and just being present.
I'm interrupting today's episode really quickly to remind you how much reviews mean to us podcasters. They honestly help us create more of the content that you love and bring on more of the guests that you want to hear from. So after listening today, head on over to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app and leave a review for the brand new show, Kellyanne Cares. I would truly appreciate it. And if you want to continue the conversation, head on over to the brand new community on TikTok. You can find me at Kellyanne Gorman Official. Now let's get back into today's show.
And yeah, so how cool that just went off.
I know. It's so crazy because when I said I was listening to our older episode before when I was getting ready, it went off. And I was like, I had already written my notes to prepare for our episode today. And I'm like, holy shit, that was a sign. So I'm like, I'm making sure it's set so we could talk about it because it's huge. And obviously if you get a tattoo, like it's fucking serious and you're like really passionate about it. So everybody...
You know what's really cool? I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was saying, you know what's really cool about that is 9 times out of 10, if I'm in public and someone's near me, they'll go, what's that tattoo about? Or even kids will go, what's that? What is that? And so it has been so fun because I've met so many cool people when they ask, like, what's this about? Or if I'm at the dentist or wherever, they're like asking. And so I can tell people about it. So I'm like, 100% worth that tattoo. Some of the other ones I have from like when I was younger, maybe not, but this one's a winner. I like this one.
That's definitely a winner. I love it so much. And I also I have 11:11 and 12:34 in my phone. Those alarms are always set. And 12:34 is because of you, since I met you, and I'm like, oh my god, I need that. Okay, so seeing as though you do a lot of things, as I do, what are some of your favorite morning and evening routines? Like, how do you set yourself up for a successful day, and then how do you wind down? I want to know everything you do because we're like the same, and we're very strategic in these ways. So tell me yours.
Yeah. So one thing that I have done, I think I started it when I started 75 Hard, is like, I always, I have been trying to spend more time with my dog and like love on him. So I've definitely added that to the schedule. If you're not loving on your pets or animals, do that. But I have included every single day, no matter what, is stretching, getting out of bed and taking at least 10 minutes to really like stretch my body and move and like get the energy going. I like saging in the morning or, doing Palo Santo as frequently as I can. Like, it's very interesting. I've noticed with my routines, I'll do something for a while. I think you're probably the same. Like, we have routines, but sometimes we're like, let's switch it up today and do something different, And so when I was doing 75 Hard, I got really great about doing certain things. And now it's like, I've become more in tune with listening to my body and not being so rigid about what time I get up, and like, making sure that I'm fully rested. But like, stretching is a non-negotiable. I got really good about water with 75 Hard. So I always feel better when I do that. And something that I got away from for a while that I've noticed lately has helped me so much with like communicating with other people is taking time just to kind of get those thoughts out of my head in the morning that are going, a lot of people use the term brain dump, but I carry, which I showed you right when we got on this interview, I carry this little yellow notepad around with me, and I take notes and notes and notes and notes and notes and notes and notes. And then at the end of the day, I'll like put them in my Evernote. But for me, I like just getting all that out in the morning. That way I don't have to be distracted. And I don't know if you follow Chalene Johnson or not, but one thing I learned from her is setting your schedule for the next day that evening. And it doesn't have to be set in stone, but like, okay, I'm going to sit down before I go to bed and here's the things that I have, you know, going on, and kind of setting yourself up. That way you don't wake up being like, oh, what do I have to do? Or it's not chaotic. You know what I mean? And also, one thing that I have been really rigid about is not putting so many things to do on my list, because it's so annoying and overwhelming. It's like, what are the 3 things that are going to move the needle today? Let's focus on that. And my main thing is I always decide on what is my intention or the way I want to feel. Like, what's my intention? Like, is it feeling completion? Is it feeling calm? Is it feeling like, you know, communication is free flowing? And so I kind of pick a theme. And then if I sway away from that during the day, I'm like, nope, not in the theme. Let's get back to it. Do you ever do that where you're like, nope?
Yeah.
Not
and
today.
It's so funny because I don't usually have like a word of the year. Everybody's like vision boards and New Year vibes. And I'm like, I feel like I need a word this year. And it's intention. So and I love your morning routine. The one thing that I literally just told my best friend, I'm like, I need to be stretching more. And so starting today, I'm going to start stretching more because I went through this hardcore rowing phase and now I'm in a sauna phase. So I just sweat my ass off in the sauna. I'm obsessed with it. And I don't stretch. And I'm like, why am I like stretching is more important than the workout, you know? And that's something.
And you know, another thing too is I only because I do it with all of my stress management clients, but is really leveraging when you're feeling tight or when you're, you know, including it in the stretching, I guess you say, is breathing techniques. Just doing some box breathing or taking a moment to like just move the stagnant energy and get it out. It's so interesting that you don't even realize, like, most of the day people are just sitting tense with their shoulders up and so like rigid, and you're like, can you just calm down and take a breath real quick? let's like get it. Let's hold on. Let's recalibrate for a second. And so I think that I catch myself doing that very often, just taking a huge deep breath and moving the energy and just like letting the, you know, I do Reiki or I have Reiki done on me, and just like making sure that anytime I'm feeling off or negative or down or something's not vibing, that sometimes it's not actually me. It's maybe just some stuck energy or something I picked up, and move that along and like move on about your day.
My favorite thing to do is sound baths. I sleep to one that's usually like 8 hours, but I do them every single day. And just to show you how powerful, I have a little story about breath work. Like, unless you do it, you don't understand. Like, it can help release trauma. It's great for PTSD, which I have, and so many other things. But even if you just, there's so many different breathwork patterns. But a couple years ago, I had a number of clients come to me, all from the same coaching program. And they were all food and body coaches as well as breathwork facilitators. So they were doing 2 different things at the same time, and they kept referring each other to me. So I ended up developing all of their podcasts, and they were completely different. But the common denominator was breath work. So they started doing their free, they had to get certified and do like a number of hours on specific individuals. So they would always ask me. So I would volunteer. And at that time, I didn't even touch my legal cases yet. This was so long ago. And at the end of the day, one of my last clients, she asked me like, okay, so I know you're producing my podcast, but I want to really produce a whole track. Like, can you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's try. Like, I've never produced music, like, or breathwork. So let's figure it out. So it ended up sounding amazing. It took me hours on hours, but like, I always love a good challenge. And I asked her, I'm like, okay, you need to tell me how the breath work is supposed to go, because like with a podcast, I'm listening to words, so I know where it needs to go. With breath work, I don't know that pattern. I don't know like where I produce. So I actually had to produce the music with the way that she was coaching how to breathe. So long story short, after hours of doing that, finalizing the last track in the morning, I think it was like 4 hours maybe, I was able to finish it. the remainder of the day, I was on a cloud. I felt so
Right?
high, and I couldn't figure out why I was so high. And then I realized I literally have I've done breath work this entire week, like for hours at a time, which isn't normal. Like some people do it for seconds, some people do minutes, but usually it's like 20, 30 minutes if you're really going hard into like a whole breath work situation. But I literally did it for weeks and hours at a time. And the final track, because I was producing it, I was listening to the breathing patterns over and over and over and over again. And so that's why I was living like next level life. And that just goes to show you, but I didn't realize why. And then I'm messaging my client and I'm like, I feel so high. She's like, oh my God, how do you feel? Like, what? She's like, I didn't even think of that when you were producing it, that you'd be like high from breath work. And I'm like, the world is my oyster. Like I could do anything. But at the same time, I wanted to take a nap. I felt high as a kite. I felt like breath work is so powerful. And that's like an extreme. That's definitely not normal. And that was like a special project that I did. But with other ones, only a couple minutes at a time, like it's just such a powerful technique. I believe in that so much. Between that, the Reiki, and the sound baths, like I love a good holistic healing moment, and I do red light therapy and all of that, and that's been so beneficial to me. And until you actually try it, I don't know why people are so fucking hesitant when it comes to like a holistic route to heal, because just try it once and you'll be good to go. Like just try it once.
So one thing that I'm sure you're familiar with it, but that I give to I work with a few people. An example is a emergency room nurse. So as you can imagine, that's a stressful situation. So I have them listen to solfeggio frequencies, which are different hertz, and one hertz is for love and one's for banishing fear. And so it's essentially like a binaural beat. So binaural means you get it in both. There's two tones going at the same time. Solfeggio frequencies is just one frequency. So I'll have people listen to it. But piggybacking kind of off what you just said is one of my friends, he has a great business and all this stuff, and he is so stressed out. Like I'm like, you need to relax. And so I go, let me send you over solfeggio frequency, whatever. And he's like, I go, it like helps you calibrate with, frequencies. And he's like, really? Are you serious? And I was like, thinking I was helping him, and he just shut it down. He's like, no, I'm not doing that. And so just like you said, it's like, why not try it? And if it doesn't work, then you can say, told you so. But he was like, nope, not interested. I was like, okay, good talk.
I know. Over the last couple of years, I'd say 3 years now, I've been doing this sound baths, and my friend Susie, she goes by the Copper Vessel on Instagram, and her business completely blew up during the pandemic. And I had her on the show maybe like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. But since I met her and I started doing sound baths, I was doing a couple of them before I met her, but then I started doing all of hers, and then I learned a lot more. And then the ones I do when I sleep that are 8 hours are on YouTube, but now I look for the frequency. So I do 528 when I sleep. So I've learned more over the past 2 or 3 years about the frequencies. So now I look for which frequency, depending on how I want to heal or what I need to like adjust to my body, or like how I want to feel. It's so crazy.
I love it. Yeah, and some people are like, nope. Well, okay, I'll do it.
We love a good research moment. So we're like, what can we learn more? Okay, so last time I think I actually heard your voice was in the middle of the pandemic. And I believe I was in the supermarket and you were leaving San Diego, or you had just left. I think you just left. Yes. And I was in the middle of my legal battle still, in the middle of the fucking pandemic. So it's so nice to hear your voice, and we're both two totally different, much happier people now.
Isn't it interesting? It's very interesting though, because I've had, I was telling one of my friends the other day, we've had so much crazy stuff. Like one of my best friends had both of her parents pass away, and then, dealing with COVID, and I was dealing with ex-business partners, and there was just a lot of drama that came up that like we never talked about, you know what I mean? And so it's just very interesting, because I was, I said something the other day, I said, your pain is not unique. It's very interesting because I feel like we've all kind of gone through some sort of drama or shitstorm during this pandemic, and now we're like, I'm not playing anymore. We're getting to work. Like, we're over this. I'm done. Moving forward. Get with me or don't. You know, don't you feel like that? Like, I'm like, listen, I made it through this thing. You're not slowing me down. I got goals to hit, you know?
Yeah, I felt like that after I was misdiagnosed. I'm like, okay, I got my life back. But then I had to deal with the legal battles. And then I was like, I'm still reliving shit. But then after that, I was like, okay, we're still in the pandemic. I'm the busiest I've ever been. Now that's when I wrote my book. And then honestly, it was like when we finally were able to like be out, where I could just finally realize like, I'm not messing around. Like, let's get this shit together. Like, I was running around bookstores signing books with a mask on. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I just want this book in more hands of women that like need to learn this information. I want to help more people. Like, I just took it to the next level because people really realized that, you know, they're running like adult, like in these corporate jobs, or they had this dream and then they had kids, and now they finally are living their dream because they didn't have that corporate job. They got laid off. Now is the time for them to start. So they move forward with their dream. But like, that's when I think a lot of people realize, and it hit home, like, wow, life is short. Like, you can't rely on X, Y, and Z all the time. Like, you can only rely on yourself. And I feel like that really hit home for a lot of people, especially during the pandemic. So I was like, we've already been there. We've already had a trauma like that in our lives, where now it's like, okay, now it can really help more people.
Yeah, and you know, that's one thing I love about you, and why we resonate with each other so well, is like, there's nothing wrong with sharing your story, or like, you know, we've never been in the boo-hoo position.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, come, you know, help me self-soothe. But like, I do feel that a lot of people need that right now. They need to know that they're not alone. They need to know that, you know, you're not a loser because all of a sudden you aren't doing as well because of, you know, what's happened the past year. It's like, all of us have taken a hit, but man, think of all the lessons we've learned. Like, I have learned so many lessons since the last time we talked. Like, I literally feel like a different person.
Me too.
Like, I'm just not the same person. Neither are you.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the beauty in it, and the beauty in all this stuff that we're talking about with the metaverse and all this crypto. It's like, you can really kind of, if a 12-year-old can make millions from painting on her iPad, like, what's my excuse? Right?
Mm-hmm. And I agree with that 100%. Like, it sucks when shitty things happen to you, but you know, I thought I was going to be blind and paralyzed, and so I started recording a podcast because that was, my voice was the only thing that was going to make me money. That moved into a podcast development company that I now own, and created that out of nothing. But where I am now, I'm not saying like, thanks, I got sick, but like, that made me such a stronger person. Like, I feel like I can handle anything thrown my way, like absolutely anything, like without a fucking doubt. But then I have more emotion, and I can help more people because I'm not angry anymore. Although every now and then I have to remind people, like, trauma still lives in my body. As much as I heal all day long and I do all these holistic things, like, I have crazy PTSD, and sometimes, you know, I like do all the healing and the therapy, but like, sometimes something will trigger me. And with that, it's like a smell, or if I see something, like literally just a smell or a vision of something, or I'll be driving by, something will trigger me. And just like 2 months ago, something triggered me, and I immediately went to my TikTok and I started calling out the doctor again. Like, I was crying on the internet, and I haven't done that in years, but I was like just dealing with it that day. And I'm like, I kind of had like a moment where I was like, should I delete that? Because I don't want to be the girl, like, because a lot of people were coming to my TikTok, and it wasn't for podcasting or, you know, my book. It was because I was misdiagnosed. I'm like, why did I just do that to myself? Because now they're going to come back to, like, I don't want to be that girl anymore. I want to be the girl that like came out of it. Now I can help and teach you more because that happened. But then when you know, thanks to the algorithm, you know, you upload a video that went viral, and then you're talking about the same subject, those will go viral too. And then it's like, why'd I do that? But then I had to think with myself, and like, I had a talk with myself, and I'm like, no, I need to leave that, because I talk about PTSD and I'm very vocal. Like, I've never not shared anything about my life on the internet. The doctor's names that misdiagnosed me, like all the legal stuff, and anxiety, depression, like that's something I deal with every day. But the PTSD, I feel like a lot of people don't talk about. They just affiliate it with like the military. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I just need to fucking leave those videos because people need to understand, like, this shit is still in my body. Like, it's still happening. And as much as you see, like, a pretty picture or a funny video and I'm loving my life, like, drinking my iced coffee and whatever, like, some days I can't even get out of bed because of that. Like, one smell or, like, that one trigger. So I always have to keep it real because I feel like now, okay, I got past that. People think I'm like, fine. I'm like, no. Some days are shitty and some days are great. And that's the best part about being able to create content and bringing it online is like you have a choice and hopefully you take have the choice, like, what am I trying to say? You make the moves to show that like you are real and you're showing all aspects of your life. And I believe that you've always done that as well since day one I've met you. So thank you for doing that because not a lot of people have the courage to, you know, share it all, but that's what's making you real and that's what's making you more relatable and approachable and building your business. If you weren't like that, you wouldn't be where you are now. That's how I think.
You know, and I think it's also in the understanding of like sometimes stuff just doesn't go well and you should, like, just like you were saying, should I delete it? I've posted stuff that I haven't deleted and then someone took a screenshot and then they put it in a hate thread and you know, like I've had that kind of stuff happen. And so it's kind of like it's like a fine line. I say this so much, but like it's a fine line between self-love and self-sabotage. It's like, should I post this because I'm genuinely like wanting to heal from this, or am I posting it because I want to start stuff because it's easier to wallow in self-pity? You know, like only you know that. I don't know that.
Yeah, so true. Tarlise, I love our conversations. And to those of you listening, we could go on forever and ever.
I know. I love it.
Where can everybody find you? All of your links I will post in the show notes, but what are you working on next? What can everybody look forward to and where can we find you?
Yeah, so I think just sending everyone, go to tarlese.com. It's TARLESE. On all social media, it's TARLESE. You know, I used to dislike my name, and now I'm like, rock on. I can at least get all my social media handles. So,
yes,
Tarlese.com. You can find everything. You know, speaking of like kind of having to start from scratch, not that long ago, I lost all my websites, all my members area, everything. So we finally got something back up, and we have some really cool things coming. So a brand new rebrand and everything. And so I can't wait to see, you know, depending on when whoever's listening to this, you see it, I hope that you find something that resonates with you. As of the time that I'm recording this, I'm going all in on this metaverse, crypto, you know, just education space of learning as much as I can. And just like I shared that group of, it's called Crypto Cougars, but it's like a women's group. I just want to connect with other women that think big, that, you know, want to do fun stuff and kind of be, just like you said, I don't know about this. I want to learn.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's what I'm doing right now. So who knows, by the time people listen to this, we might be onto something else, but hey, hopefully we have another podcast down the road and we talk about all the cool stuff we've done since now. Right.
Absolutely. And two things I want to close out with is, that group has like 500 women in it already. That's a lot.
I know she said they added over 80 people just yesterday. And so I was like, that's awesome. You know, here's what I love about groups like that is they're people that take time to use metaphors, to show graphs, to explain things in like real life situations. It just makes it so much more fun and it makes it like easy to digest. And so I appreciate that someone took the time to go, let's take this huge scary conversation about crypto and we're going to compare it to like a pizza, or we're going to compare it to like something real life so that you can get a visual image in your head and like learn and not feel like you're so far behind. And so, you know, it encourages me to do more of that in my own community of how can I explain this to everyone and not make it complicated for people. And so it definitely inspires me for sure.
And the last thing I wanted to touch on was a word, and you just said it again, and you said fun twice. Now is a time where we just want to fucking have fun already, like doing what we love to do. And I feel like before the pandemic, that group wouldn't exist. They would be trying to sell you on how to do it. Now it's like, let's get together because we're amazing fucking women and show each other what the hell we know. And let's have fun and just roll with it and like see what happens. Yep. That's the best
It's
part.
so funny. It's great that you said that because that really has been my word. I used it so many times yesterday. So I've been working with some really cool gentlemen, but like I'm the only woman on the team at the moment. And so, they're using all these big words and doing all this stuff. And I was like, as long as we're having fun.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. I'm like, these are people worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm just laughing, going, as long as we have fun. So that really is my motto. I'm like, if you're bringing me grief or drama, get out of my space.
No, thank
please.
you.
Not today.
Well, thank you for taking the time out of your busy week and coming into my space. I'm so grateful to have you back on the show. You guys go check out the show notes. Everything you need to know about Tarlise will be there. Make sure you connect with her on all her platforms. Tarlise, thank you so much. And I think we have a birthday party to plan.
Yay! I agree. Let's do it.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Kellyanne Cares, a one-of-a-kind show created to motivate, stimulate, educate, and inspire you. And I hope that happened for you today. As I mentioned in the intro, I would love your feedback on today's episode. Head to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or your favorite podcast app to leave a review for the show. I would truly appreciate it. For more information on myself, the show, my book, and the programs, products, and services I've created, visit kellyanngorman.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for my weekly newsletter, join the podcast community, and check out the brands I'm currently loving. Let's continue today's conversation. You can connect with me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Kellyanne Gorman Official. All my other social handles will be available for you in the show notes. If you have a product, brand, story, or service you would like to share on the show, send me a message on kellyanngorman.com today. As always, thanks for listening, sharing, and reviewing. I wouldn't be here without you, and I'm so grateful I get to do what I love each and every day. Wishing you a happy, healthy, positive, and productive day, and I'll talk to you again soon.